I'm Kelly McCooey, the emotions coach. I'm so glad you're here. Let's have some fun together today, okay? Do you ever feel like your emotions keep knocking down when you least expect it? Like life has some kind of obstacle course and you're face planting or the same things over and over. Yeah? Drop a hand in the chat if you've ever had an emotion completely hijack your day. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to reset your emotions in 3 minutes. Sound good? Most of us were never taught how to deal with emotions because our parents and our teachers didn't know either. So we do one of three things, or all of them. We resist them. So we pretend it's not happening. We shove it down, avoid it. We react to them, lash out, shut down, spiral, go to a smash room, scream into a pillow. We distract. So doom scrolling, binge networks, overwork, overeat, overdrink, all those things. Yeah. So resist, react, or distract. But what if there is another way? A way to actually process emotions in real time so they don't pile up like emotional laundry. I wasn't always good at dealing with emotions. In fact, I spent most of my life avoiding them, as most people do. I remember a moment when that had to change, the moment I chose to live. I was sitting in my living room talking to a friend, and I thought, I can't do this for another 25 years. Not talking to my friend part, but what I've been doing, where I was in my marriage, in my life, all of it. I can't do this for another 25 years. I thought I would literally rather be dead than do this for another 25 years. And I knew, I just deep in my knower, I knew that if I stayed where I was, if my physical health didn't kill me, my mental health would. So I chose. I chose to live on a very real and visceral level. I chose life. And for me, part of that meant leaving my toxic marriage. But when I left, I didn't just leave a marriage, I had to rebuild everything. And for the first time, I had to actually feel everything that I'd been avoiding. It was terrifying. But I also started learning how to process emotions instead of running from them. I noticed this thing happening everywhere I look. People are walking around with emotions getting in their way, not ever processing them, just tripping over them like they're untied shoelaces. Like we're all walking around as humans with our shoelaces untied, and we trip and we fall and we hurt ourselves and we get up and we fall again and we're tripping and damaging ourselves, and we create these elaborate modalities of all these different ways to heal ourselves from the damage that we cause ourselves from tripping all the time. We think that it's normal to run around with untied shoelaces, and we never stop to tie our shoelaces. So that's what we want to do here. Yeah. What's an emotion that keeps tripping you up? Drop one word in the chat for that emotion. Most people think emotions just happen, or that someone or something makes them feel a certain emotion. But they actually follow a really predictable pattern. There's C for circumstance, a neutral fact. It's a fact, it can be proven in court. I'm sitting on a chair, someone cancels plans. T for thought, what you tell yourself about the circumstance. They don't like me. These thoughts are shaped by the deep-seated beliefs and identities that we have underneath. So that's why you can have two different siblings go through exact same experience, but have completely different thoughts and emotions about it, because the beliefs that they formed already are different. E is for emotion, what you feel as a result of that thought: rejected, hurt, angry. A is for action, what you do because of that emotion. You withdraw, you lash out, you overthink. And the result, what happens when you do that action. So for example, it reinforces the original belief. People always leave. So in that, you've got the circumstance, the thought, the emotion, action, and result. Someone cancels plans, you think they don't like me, you feel hurt or rejected, you lash out or withdraw. The result, you reinforce the belief. People always leave. Okay. I spent years believing that my emotions weren't valid. I was taught and I was modeled, everything around me conditioned me to believe that being emotional was bad, that I should just die to self, make wise, logical decisions, basically ignore my own intuition. That belief dictated every thought I had about myself, and it made me second guess everything, thinking I was too much or not enough. And those thoughts drove emotions like guilt and shame and anxiety. It wasn't until I unlearned those beliefs that I could even begin to change my self-talk. If you want more on that, the beliefs and the self-talk, go back to my first talk about how to stop being a bitch to yourself. Yeah. Think of a time, a recent time when you got upset. What was the thought behind that emotion? Can you share it in the chat? Understanding this model, CTEAR, circumstance, thought, emotion, action, result, gives you power. Because if you change the thought, you change the emotion, which changes the action, which changes the result. If you don't like the result, you just work it backwards to the original thought and the belief that started it. Just to define this, a belief is a thought that has strong emotion attached to it. Okay. Instead of having your emotions under the control of people who you really don't want being in charge of how you feel, here you take your power back. You own it. So there's no more, he made me feel this. You own it. And the beauty of that is this: when you own your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, all of it, when you own it, you have authority over it. And when you have authority over it, you can change it. So let's talk about how to change that. Yeah? We good? Are you with me? Okay, so now that we know how emotions work and where they come from, let's talk about how to reset them in real time using the tie your shoelaces method. This is laid out in the ebook that is with this talk. So make sure that you download that. The first step, notice the emotion, spot the shoelace. Most of us try to avoid emotions, but the first step is to just acknowledge them. Ask yourself, what's coming up for me right now? Just notice, I'm feeling really ragged right now, or I'm frustrated, whatever it is. Drop a hand in the chat if you can name an emotion that you've been avoiding. Okay, so that's the first step. Notice the emotion. Second step is to create space for it. This is a pause for the shoe check. Instead of reacting or suppressing it, we're just going to pause. In your mind, you're going to imagine a judgment-free zone where you can feel without resistance, without shutting it down. Like create a room in your mind that's just for feeling an emotion. You're not going to feel it yet. This is just creating space for it. You're going to say to yourself, I allow this emotion to be here. Notice if you have judgments about the emotion. I shouldn't be feeling this way. There are so many people who have it worse. I did that one a lot. There are children starving in Africa. I shouldn't be hating these peas. Just a little picture from my childhood. Sorry. First, you're going to pause and notice the emotion, and then you're going to create that space in your mind for a judgment-free zone. And then step 3, you're going to feel it. In that safe space, you're going to feel the emotion. You're just going to let it flow through you. Emotions are just energy in motion. emotion. They're just a vibration in your body. And I'm telling you, if you take one thing from all of this, if you take this one phrase, it's just an emotion, and let it sink in, it will change your life. So you're going to feel it. Just allow the emotion, the vibration to be in your body, and you're going to notice, where do you feel it in your body? Is it a tight chest, a knotted stomach? Instead of resisting it, you're going to breathe into it and just let it move through you. Often emotion will give you the belief that it's going to kill you if you let it, if you feel it. I remember standing in a crowd when I was in my 20s, and I felt like I had this scream trapped in my throat. And I just knew that if I let it out, it would never stop. Emotions make us believe that, right? That it's too much, that we can't allow them to be felt, or it's just going to take over. But if we can put down that lie, because it is a lie, and accept that it's just an emotion and allow ourselves to feel it, then we can just let it move through us. I remember a breakup a few years ago. In the past, I would have just buried the pain or distracted myself or convinced myself I was fine. But this time, I let myself feel it. I let it just come in waves, and I allowed the grief to come and the pain. Instead of resisting it, I just let myself cry. And because of that, I wasn't stuck in it for months or years. I processed it. And after a few weeks, I was like, I'm good. Not because I was trying to avoid it, but because I had actually processed it. That was a huge turning point for me. Realizing that emotions don't have to drown us if we actually allow them to flow through us. Where do you physically feel emotions most often? Your heart, in your gut, your head? What is it? Put it in the chat. So the fourth step, we're going to name the emotion. It's not Ernie or Bert. We're going to name it using an emotion wheel if you've got one. If you want one, I've got one on my website. It's the Rewired Life /free resources. The emotional clarity toolkit gives you an emotion wheel where instead of just saying I feel bad or I'm mad or something more general, you can put a really specific name on it. Men especially have trouble with this because boys aren't socialized to focus on emotion, so they have trouble naming them. But girls as well, when we grow up in an environment where emotions aren't valued, we have trouble putting names on them because we're working so hard to not feel them. So sometimes it's just really helpful to look at an emotion wheel. There's lots of them on the internet, but you can go to my website and get that emotional clarity toolkit and get it for free and just give it a name. So the first step, we've noticed the emotion and then we created space for it. We feel it. We name it. So by the time you've gone through that process, the emotion has probably just dissipated out of your body. Yeah. Not always. Sometimes it just needs to stay for a while you work out what those deeper thoughts and beliefs underneath it are that are still fueling it. So you can just carry it around as if it's a purse. Just carry it with you and notice it wherever you are during the day. Just look at it, accept it as a part of you instead of just trying to dismiss it. Allow it and just keep feeling it as you need to. And gradually it will just dissipate. So once you've learned to tie your emotional shoelaces, the emotions stop tripping you up. This isn't just about never feeling emotions. It's about knowing how to process them without getting stuck. Because the human experience is all about feeling all of the things. It's not about just being stuck in them. a lot of people talk about trauma. That's what trauma is. We're stuck in the emotion of that event. Instead of allowing the emotion to go through us, we're stuck there. For years, I believed that I was broken, that there was something wrong with me, that I was too much or not enough and completely forgettable. One day, I met that part of me that felt completely forgettable, a baby. That was just my mind's way of showing me that I had believed that since I was a baby. I had felt that way my entire life. But when I saw that part of me, it wasn't judgment that was there. It was compassion. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need fixing. I just needed to reconnect with myself. That's what happens when we stop running from emotions. That's when we stop tripping over them. We reconnect with ourselves. Everything that I've shared with you today is a powerful way to start shifting how you experience emotions. But here's the thing, you don't have to do it by yourself. Having someone guide you through this process makes it easier and faster and way less overwhelming. When we work together, I help you go through the emotions and the beliefs deeper to the root of what's really driving your emotions so that you're not just managing them, but actually healing and shifting the patterns that keep showing up. That's the kind of work that I do with my clients. I help them break through from old emotional cycles so they can stop stopping themselves and start really living. So when my grandson was learning to walk a few years ago, my son put him on his feet in front of me and let him go. And he started to toddle toward me and he was just beaming and so excited. But before that, he had been falling and getting up again and falling and getting up again. And the actual falling and getting up is what formed him into the person who knew how to walk. It gave him the muscles, the strength in his bones, the understanding so that he could walk. What a tragedy it would have been if, when he was trying to walk, the first few times he fell down, he said, "It's too hard. Not going to do it." Falling and getting up again is the most common way that we stop ourselves, whether it's in business or in relationships or anything in life. We fear failure as adults in a way that we never did as children. But when you understand that the emotion of falling and failing is just an emotion, and when you understand that the worst thing that can happen in life is an emotion, and if you know how to process an emotion, then you can fall and get up again and fall and get up again until you succeed. Because you don't have to be afraid of the emotion that happens when you fall. That's how you succeed. That's how you gain the power and the freedom to do anything. You learn to process your emotions. So, what's one thing that you'll do differently next time a big emotion shows up? Drop it in the chat. And don't forget to download the Girl Tie Your Shoelaces workbook. I'll be answering questions live in the chat, so you can keep asking. And if you're ready for more support in this, let's connect, because doing this work with guidance makes all the difference. I have friends that I exchange sessions with because coaches need coaches. And it's just so much easier to go deeper and to do the real work if I don't have to do both. Yes, I can do the stuff on my own, but it's just so much easier when I have someone walking through me, because then I can just sink into the experience and not have to be aware. Yeah. So if you'd like some help with this, then reach out. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, When you stop running from emotions and start processing them, you stop tripping over them. Right? Thanks.